You've probably heard about the Amish in the United States, but what about the Mennonites, another minority Christian group? In fact, it's not just in the United States, but it's also in Congo, Ethiopia, India, and Canada. So you might be wondering, how did they get there? Well, first of all, you've actually got to understand where these people came from. During the 16th century and the 17th century, beliefs relating to adult baptism and pacifism was really frowned upon by many Catholics and many Protestant reformers, so they were persecuted and discriminated and eventually had to flee. Throughout church history, this is very common, and this is exactly what happened to the people who decided to uphold these Mennonite beliefs. In Switzerland at the time, the belief of the separation of church and state was also frowned upon, and officials didn't like that, so they were kicked out. Something else you have to know is that the Amish and the Mennonites are actually somewhat related, because the Mennonites, they ended up splitting from the Amish group, which was part of the Anabaptist group, a wing during the Protestant Reformation. So how did the Mennonites eventually get to Congo, Ethiopia, America, India, and Canada? Let's start with Palatinate. This is where the first Amish people / Mennonites arrived, a small part of Germany. Although they got there in the 1700s, they're technically not German. After 30 years of war, the Prince Karl Ludwig offered them here. And what was the incentive? Farmland and freedom from religious persecution. Pretty simple. And that brings us on to Pennsylvania in the United States. Once again, there's another guy like the prince in the previous story called William Penn, who promoted religious freedom, another attraction to why they came here. So it was about during the 1700s that they came, about 500 Amish. Now, historically speaking, the Congolese Mennonites are actually pretty different from the ones in the United States, as they had more involvement in social services with the government, whereas the ones in the United States have a more separation, a more isolated life. Another interesting thing is the fact that the Congolese have adopted technology, something that the Amish and the Mennonites in the United States have constantly rejected. And if you don't believe me, there's going to be a documentary in the link.